Hey guys, welcome to Post and Beam. I'm here recording a video showcasing to you guys a very successful restaurant concept and how this owner has managed to create a very successful business. And I was a couple minutes earlier than everybody else, well, the boss per se. I gotta make sure that we would show up at exactly the right time from one multimillionaire to the next. But basically, I think this is where I want to kind of like transition the series a bit more, so we talk to some of the other business owners. Sometimes I interview other content creators. We're looking at Post and Beam. It's a local restaurant in Crenshaw. Yeah, this place is quite beautiful. Did you guys was it always like this, or did you guys like build it up to this point over the years?
Say it again?
Was it always like this, like the way the place was set up for the patio, or did you guys like modify it over the years?
We actually modified it after COVID. COVID, the shift was going on in the street garden space for the restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it looked a little different. I think there's still dining out here, but
Okay.
I think there's a history behind this bench right here.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty. Can you tell me what you're kind of doing right here? Cooking the chicken into the oven? Like, what's going on?
So we're actually there. It's actually oxtails, and we actually do a heavy season with our house-made spices.
Right.
And then we give them a hard sear, and we braise them for about anywhere from 6 to 12 hours, depending on how much quantity there is. We want to make sure it has a harder sear than that.
Right.
And then we just keep rotating, having a nice sear. And then we use this for a lot of our special dishes. Our oxtail hash and brunch, that's very popular, and our oxtail grilled cheese sandwich is also very popular, man.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How long do you usually let this cook for?
These, they sear about 30 minutes, man.
30 minutes?
Yeah, about 15 each side.
Okay, 13, 15 minutes each side?
Yeah, and then sometimes it goes a little more depending on how big the oxtail is.
Oh wow.
But
okay.
the key to it is just getting a nice hard sear and making sure the flavor gets.
You know, us Koreans, we also eat oxtail, but I've never seen you guys. I've never seen it cooked like the entire tail like that. So that's actually quite fascinating.
Yeah.
The fact that you guys also use like a wood. Is that like a wood grill back there, or what's you kind of call this? It's wood stone.
It's wood stone, yeah.
So what is wood stone?
So it gives the imitation of how a real wood fire oven would work. And the only difference is that this is it's still gas.
Right.
So but it kind of gives you the same effect as a stone oven would give you.
Right.
So that's pretty much it. And then it just gives you it's a lot easier to maintain during service. That way you're not lumping coals in, lumping fire in.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
So we're not too we don't use wood fire too often. We do have a Santa Maria grill in the back.
Right.
My coworker Devin, very high caliber chef, man. He barbecue master.
Barbecue master.
Guy, has a custom made grill, custom made smoker. We do a lot of wood for more of private and more higher end clients. We like to do stuff with Devin and his big smoker. With that being said, but this oven works very well and very amazing for our day-to-day functions and our day-to-day services that we have here. So.
Wow. Okay. That's so fantastic. That's a good. So we're outside of the restaurant's like open hours. So if you guys are wondering, like the chairs are set up this way and stuff like that, it's because I'm filming not when people are actually here dining. So that's just more helpful for like the sake of like this particular video. For the most part though, I am really excited to talk about some of the local restaurants that I have met. on this particular channel, particularly like in this case, in this particular case of the business owner, like he actually taking out time to actually talk to me about his food, whereas sometimes I just film myself eating because I'm too busy filming my own business and taking care of my own stuff that I don't actually like get the opportunity to have the behind the scenes. So unlike the other restaurant scenes that I do film, in this particular case, it's really nice that I actually had the time and the owner came out to kind of show up for this particular video as well. So yeah, guys, something a little bit different for you guys. It's like I say every single time on my PSL method is that when it comes down to it, I do like variety. So I don't want to always position my content down a singular niche because that's how you end up plateauing and you end up in a rabbit hole. But with that being the case, just meeting with one of the employees here, kind of tell me like what your role is, kind of get into the frame a bit more to the left. Okay. For sure. And you know, kind of like what is your job here? What do you kind of do?
Yeah, so I work as a line cook here at Post and Beam. I've been here for, I think, just under 3 years. We do brunch services, events, dinners, lots of different things here at Post. I also did like a lot of the smoked meats as well for whenever we have events or things on the menu that include that, and any other back end stuff for us cooks. Yeah.
What do you admire the most about your boss? Like kind of like John. And what do you think of John Cleveland? Like what is?
John's great. Yeah, but John's great. He's one of the few people who really understands the intersection, I think, between like fine dining and connecting that to a community as special as like the Crenshaw community here. You know, he also is someone who puts people first often, and I really think he nails. He's the right type of chef. He bought this place from the folks who founded and created this space, and he was the right person to step in and really bring community into here, listen to people, and you know, on top of that, he has a lot of really great experience and perspectives on how we, you know, bring our cuisine, you know, the things that we specialize here at Post and Bean into a space like this that doesn't, you know, often see as much of, you know, kind of like the LA food scene or whatever. Like we do a lot of really cool special things here that not too many folks do around here. So, you know, I love that he's a from scratch kitchen. He created a from scratch kitchen. We do everything that we can in-house here, and so that really means that we control the quality, and that's helped us become better chefs.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Yo, what's your favorite menu food item here? What do you say? What do you think is the best item? Like, what tastes the best?
For brunch, I'd say our oxtail hash is phenomenal.
What is this item?
This is our oxtail hash with poached egg.
Oh wow, guys, we got oxtail hash with poached egg. Oh yeah, there we go. Nice and incredible. Oxtail with poached egg. Oh, that is so good. Oh, I got it. It's so rich and tender. I have to admit, I haven't quite had an oxtail this good ever. I'm also gonna take it to the egg hash as well. On top, the poached egg. Wow, that is lovely. Oh, the potatoes are so nice, guys. You got the potatoes, you got oxtail, you got eggs. It just comes together so perfectly. You guys really have to try this out if you ever get a chance. Going in for the Bloody Mary. Those two things just went so perfectly. Wow. And then we also got the fish. And it goes with this dipping sauce that just tastes so good. Oh man, I love catfish. Wow. That is just so incredible. Going in for more of this oxtail. It is just so phenomenal. This goes so well together. Remember the other scene I showed you guys how they make the oxtail inside of the stone grill. There's something about it. The difference in cooking process renders the meat a little bit differently, and it makes the oxtail taste a certain way that's a lot differentiated. It feels like it comes out of a rotisserie or something like that. In a sort of way, it's original and it's unique, and I really like it a lot. That's so epic. It's epic, especially when it's put together like this.
Book an appointment on cleaneralliance.com.
They do cook with oxtail. I think oxtail is the key ingredient on the menu. More than just that, I kind of want to talk to John Cleveland, the owner of Post and Beam, so I can kind of understand his vision, his direction, how he started this business or how he came to acquire this business, and what were kind of some of those steps to become more of a successful entrepreneur. I do like to talk about food on this channel, but whenever I have an opportunity to talk specifically business in relation to food or the food service industry and stuff like that, that always gets me excited. Keep in mind that, I was at one point, before I ever got to start my YouTube channel, own my own personal service brand and create a digital service, a web application, and a successful web application product on the internet that's commercial at this point. I was also a worker in the restaurant industry, much like the people that you see here. Many of the people that you see here probably dedicate their lives to make sure that this place works and functions correctly. Really respect the fact that they work really hard as well, because I know how hard it is, how much work you have to do to make a successful restaurant or to keep a restaurant successful. It doesn't come easy, doesn't come naturally, and there are obviously pitfalls and challenges and opportunities that can come from being a successful food-based entrepreneur, somebody that makes it in the restaurant business. I, for one, personally, am very curious about how to become a successful restaurateur, because I've had a lot of people that have worked for my business wanting to make it in the food business one day. So for some of you former workers of mine, or some of you that have worked for me, this is for you guys. Honestly, I don't know if I can do this every single time as far as the video format, but whenever there's an opportunity and a restaurant owner that has the time and commitment, flexibility in their schedule to talk about the business aspect of restaurants, I'm all open to ears and stuff like that. And of course, in the usual fashion of how I create my vlog series, we will test out the food, we will try out some of the food items and stuff like that. I just want to emphasize though, is that the key here is, can you guys, can I bring, valuable entertainment to you guys? And can this be entertaining while I educate you guys? And that's kind of the goal here. So, it's still me. I'm just thinking to myself, different aspects of the filming. What can we potentially do to make this scene or this particular video for my YouTube channel to be somewhat differentiated? Also, I want to mention that I am, we're in Crenshaw, And in Crenshaw, it is very, very, it is a bit of a nicer environment for doing business, but it is also, there's certain, elements to being in Crenshaw that, some of the businesses around here are closing down and stuff like that, whereas others prevail and survive. So some of the aspects that I also want to talk about is like, hey, how do you make it, in this particular market, and how do you overcome the odds? All right, John. So I've been meaning to talk to you for 2 weeks to set up this interview with you, and I am so excited to be here with you to talk about restaurant business and how you actually created one. Can you tell me a little bit more how this journey started?
Yeah, absolutely, Alex. Thanks for coming by. The story of Post and Beam goes back a little bit further than John.
Uh-huh.
So Post and Beam started in 2011, 2012.
Okay.
And I came on board in 2017, specifically to kind of seek mentorship from Chef Govin and Brad Johnson. And I fell in love with the restaurant. This was probably one of me and my wife and I's favorite dating spot. We used to come here for dates. I love Chef Govin's cuisine, and I really thought that this neighborhood restaurant stood for something. I thought it was before its time. It was really a statement for the community. So I was excited when I got the job in 2017 as the head chef to follow up after Chef Govin. It was a dream job for me.
Wow.
This was the perfect restaurant for me to work in, and it highlights all of my skills and talents as a chef. And I really enjoyed my time here as just being the chef. I really look back on it and wish I could go back to some of those moments. But it's just been like a dream come true here. So I started as a chef. After a couple of years, they let my wife and I take over the restaurant. So we purchased the restaurant as is. We still stay in great contact with the owners and the chefs because steer me in the right direction. So
Wow.
It's a family environment here. That's how I got started, and it was a crazy start,
If you don't mind me asking, when you bought this restaurant, how much did you have to pay for it?
I wish I could disclose that to you, but to put it in as best terms as possible, it took all the money I had. I was able to raise the money between my wife and I's family and our friends, and take out a small loan. I got some interest from the owners to be able to get that done. And the community really got behind everything. I mean, we had one of the most welcoming introductions to being a restaurant owner that I could have imagined. So it was quite a grind, but we funded it all. We raised all the money. We were doing great enough business to be able to pay all that back. And so now we're here.
So are you in a position now to say that you can expand your company further?
Yeah, I guess that's really where we are now, is that we are really trying to navigate where we go from here. I would say the silver lining on being able to get in that position, I never imagined I would end up as an owner of the restaurant of my dreams.
Tell me one more time, how old are you again?
I'm 41.
Did you think, when you first got this business, you were around
36.
36 years
Yeah.
old. So tell me about that. What's the experience of being, 36 years old? You take over a restaurant. I'm guessing you have some debt, and you're having to pay it down and figure out a way to steer the ship a different direction. Was the restaurant performing poorly when you took it over in terms of financial performance, or?
No, it wasn't performing poorly. A part of the reason why everybody greenlit it and gave it the pass was because I was very integral to the operations at the time, and I had been able to spend enough time with the owners to set up the transaction, to make the switch, and they really held my hand through the whole process. So, the business was operated. We were doing, probably around 800 covers a week at the time, and we were able to just keep that momentum and kind of grow it from there. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, so.
Yeah. Tell me about, what was the revenue like pre-COVID versus the COVID years? So if your daily revenue, I've been at restaurants where daily revenue in LA could be anywhere from around $3,000 to $5,000 a day. What do you think?
The daily revenue at our location has always been an up and down. We're seasonal to a degree, and our dining trends have never stayed consistent. But I mean, we have days of we have days where we only make $1,500. We have days where we make over 10,000. So it's a big range.
Oh, I totally get it. Like,
It's a
remember,
big range.
yeah, like at one point I was managing a sushi restaurant, and the owner would have a lot of wild swings in the numbers, and I would know about it because of the way they're acting. So, kind of tell me though, like between pre-COVID and during COVID, what was that? What were those What was the number drop off like for you?
Well, I mean, we've been doing before COVID, we were probably doing somewhere in the ballpark of 1.2 to 1.5 million annually in sales, and COVID hit, and we took a deep dive just like everybody else with our sales. Our whole program changed for a 12, 18, 2-year period. We went from doing our regular dinner service. We had, I think we had about 8 services a week, to not being able to do service. We offered a pretty standard menu, and when COVID happened, we completely started to pivot. We went from doing that to getting senior meals. I went from doing dine-in service to just selling food however I could. I would grab contracts anywhere I could, and it would
Did you have to switch to a bit more of like a delivery model by any chance?
Oh, absolutely. We were doing pickups, deliveries.
That Uber Eats, or what type of platforms were you on?
All of them.
I know how that feels. Like you're marketing the hell out of whatever you can and doing the best you can wherever you go.
But we were able to really I mean, we have such a great relationships in the community that we are in, which really was the strength of us being able to weather that storm. When that hit, we got into meal programs, so we were providing senior meals through our local council member to the local community, and that would, we were doing 300 meals a week. I grab a contract from the local YMCA, give them 500 meals for $5 each, and these were things that I was doing with a very small team.
500 meals for $5 each. Yeah. So that's like 500 times 5. That's like $2,500.
Yeah.
For 500 people.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a huge compromise. I mean, the margins must have been a bit weak there.
Margins were something in that time period. You weren't even considering margins.
You just want to get volume and whatever.
You needed to get sales.
Yeah.
And a part of what I brought to the table was being able to make that happen really quickly. I could, food sales is nothing. We say you can only do a $5 plate. Well, that means I can only put no more than $2 into this plate of food. So it's $2 of food in there, and I got to make that be enough to eat.
So how'd you do that?
You get creative, man. You source as best you can. Sandwiches are king in those type of situations, So we were able to grab ingredients from different places and source, be just very resourceful. We got a lot of help. And doing something like that, you say $5 a meal, that's $2,500. You did 500 meals for $2,500, but I did it with just 2 people. It was
just 2 people?
Myself and someone else, myself and my prep cook. We did it by ourselves,
To cook 500 meals? And you did that in a day?
Yeah, that was an afternoon. That had to be delivered by 1 o'clock.
That was, yeah. So, okay, so, post-COVID. So COVID years were tough.
Yeah.
After COVID, the restrictions left. How did things change for you then?
Well, when COVID started lifting, if you're not familiar with what the scene was like in Los Angeles, there was a lot of restrictions for a long time.
Yeah, you had to wear a mask. You had to greet your customers a certain way. Like patio sitting got weird and stuff like that. Distancing measures for between people's seats and stuff like that.
We expanded our outdoor seating. We joined the Alfresco program. We ended up getting like a 2,000 square foot tent in our parking lot.
You just put it out there like there's 2,000 square feet.
So when we reopened for for dine-in service. It was mainly still outdoors, and at the time, I felt like we couldn't waste any time to jump back into service because all over the city, everybody was starting to, and you were getting a lot of traffic because the demand to go out and eat and socialize was still there. So any place people could go, they were patronizing. And I said, if we don't jump back in this now, we're going to lose any footing we have in the dining scene. So we made the gamble. We put out this huge tent. We covered the parking lot, and I hired. At the time, it was very difficult to hire.
Moving to the particulars of the tent, however, so you put out a humongous tent that increases the average, the number of seating inside of your restaurant, right? So that drastically improves the amount of billing that you can potentially earn because you're able to have more seats to potentially turn over in an afternoon. So kind of like break the numbers down. How does that work?
Well, that's what you would think. But it didn't work like that out the gate because you couldn't, you had to have spaces between tables. We weren't as comfortable inviting people back inside indoors at the time. So we were all outdoors. And at the time that meant rehiring a full staff. Staffing was horrible at the time. So I was navigating how to bring in staff. I ended up hiring a lot of different family members. There were sisters and brothers working in here, cousins, neighbors, and so we really reached out into our community and our network and hired who we could, and turned out that like 70% of my staff had never worked in a restaurant before.
Oh,
so the
wow.
amount of training and
coaching.
Was really intense. It was a huge demand on the staff because we were literally taking our dining room and putting it in our parking lot, setting it up in a parking lot, and then breaking it down and putting it back inside every day.
Oh wow!
So,
that is nuts. When it pertains to Post and Beam right now, the current environment is that restaurant restrictions have loosened. We're a number of years away from the pandemic. I mean that should make you a little bit more optimistic as far as business and all, but. Kind of tell me what how do you feel about the business environment for restaurants, and kind of how do you feel optimistic about?
I absolutely still feel optimistic about restaurants and dining. I think the scary thing that COVID presented was that you have to be open-minded and ready to adapt and change. We saw how fickle the dining atmosphere was during that time, and since then, you really have to be more adaptable. Something doesn't stay the same. It was always that way, but after COVID, it just really sped things up. What used to take 3 years for a concept to say, flush out all the bits about it and say this works, this doesn't work. That was happening in 6-month and 12-month periods. You would see restaurants open and close that quickly.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of restaurant failure. Kind of talk me through it. Why do you think restaurant owners fail? Is it a lack of persistence? Is it a lack of adaptability? Is it what are the number of factors? And I've seen some really good restaurant businesses. So that kind of break it down for me, right? You really have been able to overcome the COVID-19, but I think it put a lot of restaurant owners out of business. Did it not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as my experience pertained, it was a very stressful time. I had no days off. Everybody else was getting breaks in life, and you had no days off. There was no way to escape going further in debt during that time, and that's why you see so many restaurants closing post-COVID, is because navigating that debt, part of the gamble, I believe, for a lot of restaurateurs was that you were making that risk, knowing that, or hoping, I should say, that on the other side of this, you would see it would balance it out. And
right.
I don't think any of us quite saw the influx of dining after COVID that helped, because our costs kept going up. Our ingredient costs went out the roof for like a whole year because of supply chain.
So tell me about that. I remember there was like a food shortage back in 2022 and 23. Am I not right?
Yeah.
Ag prices went up across the board. A lot of corn inputs and various, seed inputs and fertilizer input costs went up, and as a consequence, the entire futures market for a bunch of agriculture products went up around that time. Am I right, or am I right?
Absolutely, man. I mean, we were changing our menu in ways and for reasons we never had before. Eggs got to the price of, a dozen eggs cost the same amount as a whole chicken.
Holy fuck! I was like, who's gonna eat egg Benedict at that point, right?
Hey, you're like, wow, we served deviled eggs on our menu for 10 years, and then all of a sudden we're taking it off because we can't make it make sense anymore.
Yeah.
And you can't pass on these costs to your customers.
What about the orange juice situation? You remember the orange juice? What the hell happened with the orange juice? You just had to throw them off the menu as well, or what?
Oh no, you just gotta suck that up because you gotta have orange juice.
that freaking orange juice just went missing for a year. That's crazy too.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And if you had a concept that depended heavily on frying or a lot of oil, you were in pain for a long time because the price of oil, cooking oil went out the roof for a ridiculous amount of time, and we'd never seen price increases sustain for so long of a period of time. I mean, pre-COVID, I could get a handle of oil, a cooking oil, for $25, $30 for like a whole 12, almost 18-month period of time. That same price was triple. It would cost me $90, $80 for the same amount of oil. And
shit,
and you
that's
think,
a huge
yeah,
price.
right. So you.
So, and that means that that really eats into being able to fry like fries, or like being able to fry chicken or fry. And that's a local staple around here. We live in Crenshaw, right? So people really do need to have that fried food.
Absolutely. And, I think that was really the silver lining behind what was crushing for most people, is because the fats, the butter, the flour, your oil, the things that you have to use. You can't say, oh, we're going to take Brussels sprouts off the menu because there was a farm and it got, bad storm and there's no Brussels, or Brussels went up in price. You can do that for an ingredient, but when you're talking about
oil,
your eggs, your flour, your oil, your butter, these are things that you can't not function without, man. And that was intense for a lot of people. Extremely hard for if you just started a business trying to navigate what you had in your projections and what reality was just
so
too
different.
Much. It's just so different.
And I think that was like one of those factors coming out of COVID-19 where restaurant owners were kind of surprised by just the price shock on the food side of inputs. But also talk to me about the increase, particularly in the California minimum wage. It went all the way up to $15 an hour, am I not mistaken? And I think they're passing measures to increase the wage even further. Or can you tell me more about what you know?
Yeah, I mean, when Post and Beam started, I believe minimum wage was at $8 an hour. And when you think about restaurant concepts that stop working and no longer working, that's a part of the navigation. Every year, LA is one of probably the most competitive markets to operate a small business, a small restaurant in, and
it is hyper competitive, and people will cheat as well.
Hyper competitive, people will cheat. You're dealing with price increases in labor year after year.
There's also the loss from food theft and different items, people not paying for their food items and the food bills and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that really falls a lot into like how you're managing your restaurant more so than the other things. But on top of that, you got rent increases because you're in a competitive property environment. So I think,
but there are some vacancies in this mall parking lot, right? Like we're in Crenshaw Mall, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And some of the restaurants next to you kind of just vanished.
Well, in our 12 year history here, we've seen the restaurant spaces around us turn over 2 or 3 times. It's just that difficult to sustain business here, and we've developed a formula that worked better than I think everybody else for the most part that's in this general plaza, which has helped us sustain, but we put in a lot of work to do that. And I think that's what is like behind the scenes, it's my wife and I, and when the previous owners were involved. They were extremely involved in outreach with the community and the culinary community, and
Right.
attracting people to come here. And that's a full-time job to make this location work. We are fortunate enough to have great relationships to make that work. But doing business where we're at is one of the most difficult things to do, because it's we're on a site that's being planned for redevelopment, you know, so it's kind of like trying to navigate growth and closure at the same time, you know?
Right. But you're not directly hooked to the mall, and it doesn't seem like the mall might not necessarily close anytime soon. Particularly, you know, like mall fundamentals are kind of different from like normal retail plaza fundamentals. Can you kind of talk about that like, a bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, our mall is in a particular stage in its development. It's was bought. We got new owners in 2021, and they have these really grand redevelopment plans that, when it happens, will increase the business on this lot tremendously. You know, so we have such a great relationship because of how much attention we brought to this lot, and we get a really good deal with our landlords. They are our landlords. The mall owns this whole lot. We hope that we have a great future here with them when we redevelop. But you know, the concept of our restaurant as it stands is not going to be here forever. So
what are your plans for expansion and continuity once, you know, assuming, you know, this becomes like a zombie mall because of Amazon at one point in the future? Kind of like, what are your plans for continuity? I guess you would probably have to, you know, you'd have to imagine either A, you stay here, or B, you're going to have to relocate outside of a mall plaza type of situation, right?
Well, we're hoping that we're able to bring on some partners to help us navigate this. We're in the stage of our growth right now. I've learned a lot of lessons about being an operator, what it takes to do it. I still operate as a chef, so it's like wearing dual hats. We're hoping that we can attract some partners, and you know, I don't want to do this by myself anymore. Is what I've come away with.
You know, maybe somebody watching my video might want to invest into your business. Who knows? Or somebody from random walk of life.
Well, there's just some really interesting things happening in our neighborhood. You know, this mall is investing hundreds of millions of dollars in the redevelopment. We have an opportunity to grow with that redevelopment, and there's, I would say, you know, a solid $1 billion being in development happening in this general area.
Yeah, so it seems like the environment seems to be not necessarily that bad. Like retail mall fundamentals might be different from broader like real estate fundamentals in a specific region, right? So in this particular case, I mean, I still notice that in this particular mall, there's still a lot of traffic. There's still people coming in and out of the shopping areas to go to the different shops and stuff. The vacancy isn't completely terrible. I mean, like it still seems like the rent cost is balanced enough so that, you know, some businesses can continue to thrive in this environment. And there's also, you know, it's like you said, we've got SoFi Stadium and the LA Rams that moved in recently just further down the street in Inglewood.
Yeah.
And then we've had, you know, a number of other factors, just like the expansion of various like apartment buildings, multifamily. You know, the area is kind of gentrifying a bit quickly, isn't it?
Very quickly. You know, the plan for this lot is to bring on about 900 residential units on the lot. So you see the vacancies now, and a lot of the vacancies are going to be turned into residential buildings when they redevelop the lot. So, you know, it sounds like a great business relationship to be on a lot with that much residential tenants, and I think that's going to be great for business. It's definitely going to change our neighborhood. It's going to change the demographic.
So they're going to just put apartment buildings into this area somehow within the particular mall area?
They're going to knock down a lot of this on the outside of the mall. Anything that's on the outside of the mall, more than likely, a lot of it's getting demoed.
What about this?
This location is a part of the demolition plan. So our actual restaurant won't be here for very much longer. And we're in the process of negotiating the new spaces that are available.
Also, typically when a landlord forces like a commercial tenant out because they want to do redevelopment, they have to do some, financial type of concessions for you because you do have an existing business. You've been, how does that work?
We were hoping that it would have worked out sooner, but we're on a new lease contract, so we don't have a 15-year lease to negotiate with them to leverage that. But we're moving into a new lease contract with them when we relocate. They have a great relationship with us. They're offering us, tenant improvements. They want to be a part of us growing, and they love the story of Poston being growing. And it's a great story for this mall that we're still here and that we're developing with the development. So that's kind of the line that we're trying to ride.
So that means that you would be able to reposition within their existing portfolio, that you would just move to another location and they'd provide the space, and that you would probably negotiate a better type of rental escalator or something like that, or even if there is an escalator at all, or make sure that the commercial rate stays relatively flat or even beneficial, maybe because of the fact that you have to forego some revenue with like the transition and stuff like that. You're able to negotiate a bit more, and they'd be receptive because you've been such a long-term tenant and you've been paying rent for so long that why would they want to squander that relationship with you?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had great conversations with the landlords, with Harris Development and all their partners, and I don't see us leaving. I do see us growing with them. Bringing on the right partners right now is really critical for us to be able to continue to maneuver into that. So, if you know anybody, Alex, that's interested, let me know.
I actually do run into a lot of multimillionaires in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Kind of like, tell me, with regards to scaling up your business, like that means like right out the gate, you're probably gonna have to start thinking of like being multiple locations, right? That would be like the next phase of your business. So even if you're expanding, why not, hold on to this and expand to another location and try to manage both at the same time if you could manage multiple locations?
That's why we need a partner. I've learned hard lessons in trying to operate multiple locations by myself without having anybody else involved in directing the operations. And, getting a partner involved as a financial resource or operational resource is going to change that for us. I get contacted from developments all over the city. Everybody wants us to do a Post and Beam and all over the place. We get offers to go out of state. I've been offered to go out of the country and put brands up. But, it's real limits to that. I didn't come into a business owner in a restaurant as a restaurateur with a lot of money. I worked my way into it, so I have a very unique circumstance. I don't have large amounts of capital to leverage into getting and growing operations that I can just feed into. You open up an operation, a 4,000 square foot restaurant that has full service and dining and all of these things. You're talking about investing $1 million+.
Yeah, it's like running an Olive Garden or something like that, or like, but because it's very personalized and stuff like that. Because I'm telling you right now, even those bigger box chains where they operate on a similar cost structure as yours, they've had to close over 700 locations this past year. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like the environment is getting brutal right now.
It's tough. You have to be very
and that's
skilled
Olive
at what
Garden.
you do. Well,
Yeah, that's Yum Brands that's closing it up, and in a lot of places, and same with Denny's as well. So it's kind of like, how do you position yourself for the future so that you can be a growth-driven business model?
Well, you can't do what you did 10 years ago. It doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And that's a big part of why you see those big boxes closing down. They're not closing down and not reopening. They're reimagining what they're doing. They're not disappearing.
All right, John. So the vision of Post and Beam, I really love the brand of your company, right?
Yeah.
And I think you've built something really phenomenal here. I think you have a tremendous vision. Share me a little bit more about that vision and why Post and Beam is going to go on to dominate the restaurant scene, even across the United States.
Well, I think you really have to start your vision small. And I think we did that very successfully. We have created a culture. I think with the way and the landscape of dining changing, I think we've all seen the demand for neighborhood establishments. And that's why I feel like Post and Beam has a big future. We've developed a model of building a community, building a neighborhood that really relates and supports a business. And if you really look into a lot of the African American minority neighborhoods, the amount of demand for a establishment like a Post and Beam that nurtures the community, that employs the community, is what is needed in our communities. And you think about how difficult it is for restaurants to navigate the landscape of years of sales, right? Mm-hmm. What Post and Beam presents is a culture that eliminates a lot of the risks of operations. You don't see us getting sued. We don't have disgruntled employees. Mm-hmm. We don't have the same turnover rate. Mm-hmm. When you develop that kind of a culture. That's what you want for sustainability. Mm-hmm. That's what you want for a brand that has legs that can run. Right. And we're in a prime position where we're in a redevelopment, a gentrification area in itself that has a demand for us to grow. Right. And when people from out of town visit Post and Beam, they're blown away. It's a small community in a sense with a big outreach. If you're coming from Arizona, you're coming from Utah, you're coming from Maine, New York, all these different states, you have a major city in your area, and you're like, the one thing we hear all the time is, how can we get a Post and Beam in my neighborhood? This is amazing. Mm-hmm. Our customers, we have 75% return customers, Most days our bars feel like a Cheers, and that's because of the relationship. And when you think about growing a concept, the relationship between the business and the customers has to come first. And I feel like that's what we built, and we want to grow that. I think we have a great opportunity to. LA's a great market. We've been able to gain great favor with the city. And I think this is just ground zero for something that's going to grow to become really big. Mm-hmm. We have a huge following that's nationwide. They listen to our podcasts.
You have a podcast?
Right. We have a podcast that's under Post and Beam Hospitality that's managed under the previous owners, mm-hmm. which we still have a relationship. We share this brand together. I manage the restaurants, they manage the brand. Mm-hmm. And together we've developed a really big pool of an audience that ranges from all kinds of age demographics, which is really exceptional, and when you think about growing from a singular restaurant into going into 3 locations, into 5, into 10, into 20, the model is what's important. Right. And our model is...
So you think you can get to 10, 20, 30 locations, even more than that?
With the right opportunities, 100%. The demand has always been there.
Is it possible to replicate this type of restaurant concept in other minority communities across the country as well? Do you think so?
100%. And the only reason I would say that is because we put in the work already. We have done the tests. Right. Yeah. So we're out of the R&D phase of what works, what doesn't work.
Of course.
What resonates, what doesn't resonate.
Basically getting product market fit, right?
Absolutely. I mean...
And if you were to create more locations, it would be like in these type of neighborhoods where you see that opportunity to create that specialized dining experience, particularly for maybe even the African American community, like other markets that might come to mind, like Detroit, Michigan. What about Louisiana? What about Tennessee and stuff like that? What are some other? Even Atlanta, Georgia has a very, very strong African community there as well.
I think a post and beam concept, or even an off-brand of a post and beam type of a concept, fits into any affluent African American neighborhood that exists, and they're all over the place in different sizes. You know, what we do know is that we buy food, and we like good food. And the one thing that makes a model like Post and Beam very attractive is that there isn't a Post and Beam that's national branded. There isn't a brand that caters to
the African
American community as a
primary customer demographic, right?
Quality food concept that is foundationally built on scratch-made quality ingredients that isn't all processed food.
Yeah,
you know,
like
everything you see in our communities, there's a lot of processed ingredients, a lot of processed food, a lot of frozen to you know, it's really
the quality of a lot of food is very debatable,
and it's hard. It's been hard to do.
Yeah,
it takes some level of a sacrifice and a commitment,
right?
And that's what we've done. You know, that's what we are committed to. Is we've committed to putting that first step forward, so that it isn't as intimidating. The amount of support that I receive, tremendous, man. It's mind blowing. You know, that I can just open my doors, and because of our stance in our own community, the talent wants to work here. They want to be here. They want to give hospitable service without the demand for you to manage that. You know, you're going to feel welcome, and that's a big part of making these.
And this is
fried catfish with jerk sauce.
Fried catfish with jerk sauce, guys. Looks incredible.
Remoulade sauce.
Oh wow, that looks incredible, guys. And also some extra sauce. Thank you so much. Let's give the catfish a try first. Wow, that's so fantastic. The catfish, it has like some of the best tasting, the breading's really good. Paired with the fact that the catfish perfectly cooked. The sauce, a bit of a horseradish, mustard, that's really flavorful.
Like you go into, if you remember when Applebee's first launched, right? They were the neighborhood grill.
Yeah.
and that's what really sold. You know, it's because the Applebee's, the Ruby Tuesdays, the TGI Fridays, those are places that you can just go into and have a great happy hour and decompress and socialize in. Yeah. But those type of brands don't necessarily provide the level of quality that a Post and Beam has been able to prove. Right. It's a difficult concept to do. It takes someone committing to figure it out, and that's what we've done. And
no, I believe you. Yeah. What I was wondering though is you're at one restaurant right now, and you plan on achieving, you know, the opening of another location at some point. When does that timeline kind of happen for you? And then also, you know, when scaling up to potentially being a multi-restaurant operator, you know, what are your goals and your timelines for opening locations in the near terms?
We hope to start opening other locations next year, 2025. You know, we were on that pathway going into COVID, and it just kind of set us back. You know, we had a location that we had contracted out in Culver City, and we pulled out of it because of COVID.
Oh, wow.
In 2023, I got a contract with the Natural History Museum, and really found out in just a really educational way that it was unsustainable for me as an individual to take on multiple locations. I started to see the light, and you know, I was like, this is something that we have the opportunity for. We can obtain these other the demand is there. You know, the demand for minority businesses that have quality concepts is really out there, and we want to take advantage of that because we're positioned. We've done the test. We have a brand, and it's what you want, you know. And so we feel like we're ready for it. We think it's the right time. You know, the industry in itself is almost completing a recovery phase. You know, we've seen the expenses start to level out and stabilize again. The dining trends are starting to become stable as well.
Right.
And so we want to look at this as an opportunity point, and we're redeveloping where we are. We're going to reconstruct what Post and Beam is now. And it's a great opportunity to really invest in our communities and make them better, you know. And
which gets me to the next point. How big do you think you could grow in the next 3 years? How many locations could you get to, assuming the business environment remains stable? You know, the whole world doesn't fall apart because of a nuclear holocaust winter or something like that. Like everything goes as expected or something like that, right? Assuming the business environment remains relatively stable, you're going to be able to grow your company. And you know, from my perspective, you know, how do you expect, you know, going from like maybe 2 restaurants to maybe 10 restaurants, 20 restaurants? What's your path to becoming like a unicorn type concept in the restaurant business? Because obviously in the restaurant business is a factor of, you know, great concept, volume, like locations, number of locations, volume of sales per location, and also the overall brand and integrity of a brand, you know, the quality and integrity of a brand, and being able to scale the strategy with, you know, digital channels to increase, you know, foot traffic to your store, but also delivery and other things like that. Like, how do you, as an executive of your own company, right, you have a lot of potential here to grow something and build something really phenomenal. And if people wanted to get more involved with you, wanted to be, you know, say passive investors that would, you know, commit to like some sort of allocation or something like that down the road, what would you be looking for inside of investors, and, you know, how patient should they be if they were to, you know, want to be a part of your opportunity at some point?
Well, I believe the real estate environment really predicts how viable a lot of this is, and doing the work to establish a concept that's in demand gives you a lot of leverage. You know, with the locations you're able to get, the real estate agreements you're able to achieve. As it stands now, you know, we have offers to go into Hollywood at standalone restaurants. We've been in demand to go into different big box hotels as a dining concept. And in my opinion, diversifying how we present our concept is what grows us. You know, so I would like to see us grow into a diverse, different types of location that aren't necessarily shopping malls, aren't all standalone locations, but where there's organic traffic, right? And I think that's key. And that's a hard market to get into.
If you were to open a new location, how much revenue would you hope each location would generate?
You know, I think that's a specific answer for each geographic location you're in. For LA, you know, you don't want to open up in LA in a zone where you don't feel confident that you can achieve more than $5 million in sales.
Okay.
For a 4,000 square foot restaurant.
Okay.
You know, but...
And is it possible to find more of those opportunities to generate more than $5 million in sales per location?
100%.
How do you find those locations and those opportunities?
Well, it helps being experienced in the industry. You
Right.
know, it's as big as hospitality is. It's really a small community.
Yeah, sure it is. You know, everybody knows each other.
So everybody knows each other. You know, when there's a restaurant or a new concept opening up, I know about it specifically because of the people that have to work there.
Right,
you know,
right.
so it's not like there's a lot of action happening that is completely under the radar within the industry.
Oh, of course.
You know, so there's a lot of opportunity to take advantage of that. And when developers or different locations become available,
Right.
they look for already developed concepts to bring into those spots. And
True.
for us, unfortunately, there aren't many established African American brands, and we kind of check a lot of boxes. You know,
Absolutely.
we're vetted out. We have a huge following to be a one location restaurant. You know, we have a huge following. We have, I think, 14,000 Instagram followers. We have a listserv that reaches over 20,000 people.
Wow.
You know, so when people come in and experience Post and Beam, they want to follow us. That's how infectious and I wouldn't say necessarily infectious, but how memorable the experience is. And I think that's what grows brands. I always say we sell food, we sell drinks, but what you're really experiencing and purchasing is a memory.
Right.
And every time you come into a Post and Beam or a John Cleveland establishment,
Right.
the goal for my team is to create a memory, not necessarily just to feed you. And
Create a great customer experience.
yes, man. Yeah. What made me fall in love with being in restaurants, I've been working in restaurants since I was 14.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a long
And
time.
I've worked every single position you could think of in hospitality
Absolutely.
for extended periods of time because I'm in love with being around a table, a dining room table. I'm in love with that environment. That's where I want to live. I eat, sleep, drink. I live there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think a lot of people that get into restaurants, that start in it, don't necessarily have that focus. But if you want longevity, if you want growth, the growth is in creating experiences and memories. And our concept, what we do, is focused on creating those type of interactions, those type of relationships. That's what establishes growth. That's what sustains growth. That's what builds you into new markets, is the memories that people share.
Absolutely. You know, I did mention, you know, I'm a bit of a finance guy. I know for my members of my audience, you guys know all I do is talk numbers about stocks and finance.
Let's talk numbers, Alex. Let's talk numbers.
So yeah, I'll pretend like I'm Mr. Wonderful for just a second for
Okay.
Shark Tank. So you mentioned $5 million would be the number, right? Is what you're looking for at a new location. So do you think it's sustainable enough to say that you can create 100 locations that does $5 million in sales at some point in the future?
100%. How many neighborhoods can you think of that you've been to that want a restaurant space that's catered to them?
Oh yeah, and there's so many places that could have another Post and Beam.
There are thousands of Applebee's.
Yeah, there are,
There are thousands of neighborhood grills,
of course.
right?
And I looked earlier and I took some video of one of your workers, and he had he was cooking something inside of like that stone grill that you have over there in the fire with the oxtail and stuff like that. Like you've created a bit of a process for creating something unique for your neighborhood grill, and yet at the same time, it still feels like a neighborhood grill.
Absolutely. I mean, those are the tools in which, or the skills that we have honed. That's what this concept is built on. That's what we target. You know, we have a community here that doesn't eat a lot of pork.
They don't like eating pork?
They don't like eating pork.
Wow.
Right? So does that mean we stop selling bacon? No. We make beef bacon.
Oh wow.
Right?
Yeah, I got you.
And so having the culinary experience and know-how to make it cost effective
Right.
is what our customers appreciate.
Right.
They don't know that that's what made it special for them, but they know that the fact that they could still eat bacon and it not mess with their dietary focus, the appreciation happens, man. And it's because we care, you know. And you think about, why is Post and Beam called Post and Beam, right? Post and Beam was intentionally designed to be a neighborhood concept.
Right.
And we made it intentional to be this neighborhood's concept. Post and the neighborhood we sit in, the predominant architecture of the homes are Post and Beam architecture.
Right. Yeah, I even noticed the design of your restaurant fits in with the entire surrounding.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what our intention is, to fit our surroundings and our cuisine to be catered to them.
For people that want to be more involved in your company, that might want to be like potential partners, private investors, or just limited partner, whatever you're looking for, like whatever type of opportunities that might resonate with them from this conversation we created with this video. What's the best way to get in contact with you? How should they find you?
I am highly accessible, Alex. You can reach me from our website. Our email address is posted on our website, Post and Beam LA. Post and Beam LA. All of our social media is at Post and Beam LA. All of it comes directly to me and my wife, and we field all of the inquiries. So reach out to us because we want to hear from you. You know, we're highly accessible. I highly recommend just coming in and experiencing Post and Beam. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to just come in and meet John and talk to him. He's a great guy. John Cleveland here, the owner of the restaurant of Post and Beam, and he's taking it over and he's going on a different path. He has a different vision for it. It's like I said, I want to talk about entrepreneurs, and I want to talk to people that are real entrepreneurs down in the trenches, making their businesses known. And that's part of the value I bring to you guys. It's just real valuable, actual, actionable information. So also, you guys might have learned some things about the restaurant business from all of this. If you guys are other restaurant owners and stuff like that, hopefully you guys also got some value from that. Or if you're just a casual viewer that likes really good food, come over and try out some of the food here at Post and Beam as well, especially if you're living out here in LA. I personally, I can't wait. And I think a lot of people should, give this, restaurant a try on the basis of the fact that, hey, it's community driven. They have a really, good menu selection. And as I've already eaten the food and tried it out, I think it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. It is a wonderful restaurant. And you guys, I'm just glad that John Cleveland here was willing to give me some time, some airtime to kind of explain my spiel, to give me a shot, to kind of take some valuable time. This guy's already rich. He doesn't need to sit here and talk for a couple hours and share all his business insights and his knowledge and his experience. And
I've always got time for the people, Alex, and that's what I'm here for, man.
Yeah, thank you. I know, but there's a lot of rich people that don't do this type of stuff.
I really could never look at myself as rich. I hope to gain as many riches as life wants to give me, but I wasn't born rich. I don't think rich, and I like to stay connected to people.
True.
So you can't do that with an exclusive mindset. And I don't exclude people. I talk to everybody. And, our business is hospitality, man.
Yeah.
Are hospitable to everyone, man. Everyone's welcome.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys, be sure to check out postandbeam.com.
Post and Beam LA.
Postandbeamla.com. That is postandbeamla.com, guys. Be sure to look it up on the internet. I'm telling you guys, he's a phenomenal guy for hosting me, for having me here. I really appreciate the fact that he took his time out of his day. It's very valuable, your time, and there's a lot of cases where people would not. They would much rather not. Even though I tell them it's free exposure. You get a chance to be on camera. It's not always the case that they will actually put in the time and effort like this. So I really appreciate you doing that.
It's great talking with you. It was amazing to talk with you. It was a great conversation, Alex.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoy all the food.
Absolutely. I did enjoy the food. That was great. It was great. And, this is phenomenal that you being here and hosting me the way that you have. And, like I said, thank you guys so much for being here with us. And watching I've been hoping to create a video log that's more like a restaurant, food-driven, culinary-driven video log, and this was the guy that actually helped me out to accomplish that for this particular episode. So be sure to support him. Be sure to check out his social media. What's your Instagram again?
You can find me at Post and Beam LA or Chef Cleve 323.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Yep, so be sure to check them out. That's pretty much all the time we have for today. If you guys were able to linger around for this long, wow, you guys are real champions because, man, this is a long video. But thank you guys so much for tuning in for me on this particular episode of the video log. I hope you guys got some tangible value, got some ideas about how to become a restaurant entrepreneur, or some ideas about how to articulate vision, messaging, branding, culture, creation of a concept, or management of a concept, or the ongoing, trials and tribulations of being a restaurant owner and those challenges, and how John here has managed to overcome those as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one. Alex is out, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, brother.
No worries.